Yes, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all viewers around the world. Welcome to the third edition of the Supply Chain Talks, broadcasted live from the Port of Rotterdam. Yes, my name is Anoushka Lehij, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be your host again for the coming 45 minutes. Yes, and as usually, we have a very packed program in which I will welcome very interesting guests who talk us through the latest developments and innovations in our global supply chain. And amongst other things, we will be talking about the necessary developments to guarantee a seamless integration between seaport and hinterland via Rotterdam, now and of course also in the future. And you can be part of our discussion as well. Yes, Koen, you are my new sidekick. How can they participate?
Thank you very much, Anoushka. I will be indeed your sidekick for today. If you have any questions during the event, you can send them by email or put them in the chat, so I will be able to address some of them to the table today.
Yes, so wonderful, Koen. Thank you very much being my sidekick. So we are ready for it. We hope you too. So let's go.
This is us. And this is our world. In our world, we are all connected. We are all links in the same chain. Together, we drive innovation and push for sustainable solutions. We digitalize to transform into a smart port and become a CO2 neutral logistics hub. That's how we create a future for all of us. Together, we make it happen. Let's talk.
Yes, we start this edition with a special interview. It was a pleasure for me to visit the Port of Rotterdam Harbour Master, René de Vries. And I met him at a representation vessel of the Port of Rotterdam. And I talked with him about the digitization of the operational process in the port. So let's have a look. I am in Rotterdam now for the interview with the harbour master, René de Vries, and he asked me to meet him in his natural habitats. Hi, René.
Hi, Anoushka, welcome.
Yes, well, so good to be here, yes. So how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Yes, and tell me, where are we now?
We are at Rotterdam Zuid. We are close to our World Port Center, our main office. We are next to the Hotel New York, the famous Hotel New York, the former headquarters of the Holland America Line. They started here roughly 145 years ago.
Well, it's the place to be, but it's also the place for our interview, so let's talk.
Okay.
So René, in the previous editions of the Supply Chain Talks, we have seen several initiatives to digitize processes in and around the harbour. So why is this such an important topic?
Yeah, well, as you probably know, Rotterdam is the biggest port in Europe, and of course we want to stay the biggest and the best port in Europe. And that's all about efficient logistics. And if you talk about efficient logistics, you talk about transparency and you talk about sharing of data.
Yes, so sharing of data
is essential.
Yes, and the best way to do that is to digitalize it.
Digitize different processes. Otherwise, you have to have a lot of paperwork.
So, in what areas do you see the biggest opportunities if you talk about digitization?
I could name several. In a port with a lot of throughput and a lot of ships, every day 80 ships, you have a lot of questions. When's the ship arriving? Is my container on the vessel? Is my container released by customs? Can a truck driver pick up the container? So that's all about data and transparency of data.
Yes, so it's about logistics and also about control and management, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and do you have specific examples on how digitization has proven to be an indispensable asset in your field of work?
Yeah, for instance, only a couple of years we received on our Harbour Coordination Center more than 50,000 phone calls a year, because the agent, that is the local representative of the ship's owner, has to call the Harbour Coordination Center when the ship has to leave the berth, and the report is, well, we want to leave at that time, the pilot has to be on board, and so on and so on, and that is all digitized. So that's much more efficient than, for instance, 3 to 4 years ago.
So we are sailing now along the traffic control system here at the Botlek. So tell us how, because we cannot enter it because of the COVID-19 measures, still the measures that are present. But if we were inside, what would we have seen?
If we would be there, you could see people watching radar screens. Because what we do at the traffic center Botlek, and we also do it from another location in Hoek of Holland, we give radar guidance to all the ships in the Port of Rotterdam. And the area starts roughly 50 kilometers offshore Hoek of Holland, at the western part of the port, and at the eastern part of the port at the Brinoord Bridge. And that 100 kilometer of radar coverage, there we give guidance, assistance, advice, and if necessary instructions to all ships that are sailing on the river and want to sail in and out of the basins.
Yeah, so you have two different positions.
Yeah, two different positions, and you have the Harbour Coordination Center that is located at the World Port Center. That has everything to do with planning and coordinations.
And what will be the next big development in digitization of the port?
Well, you could say autonomous vessel is a development, and the digital twin of the port is also another development.
Yes, and what do I have to? Can you describe what is an autonomous vessel? How will it look like?
Well, a traditional vessel, also this vessel where we are now here, the new Maas, is a vessel with a captain on the bridge. And an autonomous vessel is a vessel where there is no captain on the bridge.
So it's totally autonomous.
Totally unmanned and totally autonomous.
There's nobody at all. And how will those vessels then? How will they moor?
Also automatically, and not with traditional ropes, but maybe with a magnet system, but that will be a few years from now.
Yeah, so that also means that all the physical assets in the port, that they also have to communicate with real life data?
First, you have to standardize all the different systems, and then they have to communicate with each other.
Okay, and if you want to create, or you are already creating the digital twin, but what are the main challenges?
Well, I would say the first challenge is the security of the digital twin, because cyber security is a challenge, is a topic. Then the standardization of the systems, and then you have several parties involved, and they have to be willing to share all the information that is in the system.
Yeah, that is a great challenge, I think.
It is.
To get all those parties in the right shape, that they really want to share information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're working on that.
Because what would be your advice to those parties who still feel reluctant to join this movement of this digital and transparency?
Don't hesitate and cooperate. If Rotterdam wants to be the port that it is now, that means the biggest port of Europe, a very safe and efficient port, then digitization is the way ahead.
Yeah, so you have to join.
You have to join.
You don't really have a choice
No, I don't
anymore.
think you have a choice. No.
Okay, don't hesitate and cooperate. Yes. Well, René, thank you very much for this interview. You made it very clear that digitization is the future of the port, and that's already happening. So thanks for that. And we will speak further on in our podcast later this afternoon. Yes, that was a very nice and great visit. So let me introduce my first table guest here at the show today. Femke Brenninkmeijer, CEO at NPRC. Welcome. Nice to have you as my first guest here. And Ellen Nijkens, Senior Business Manager, Shippers and Forwarders at the Port of Rotterdam Authority. Yes, we are going to talk about a smooth and sustainable supply chain to the hinterland and what is needed for that. We will discuss connections, solutions and innovations. And we do it also with our digital guest, Dirk Verstraeten, Chairperson of the Supply Chain Program Committee of the EPCA, and also Director Global Logistic Procurement at Covestro. Yes, Dirk, welcome. Very nice that you're joining us also from a distance. Before we really dive into the topic, could you explain our viewers what is it you do at EPCA and of course at Covestro?
Yes, sure, I can Thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Dirk Verstraeten and I'm calling from Germany, from the hinterland that you are referring to so much. My daily role is Global Logistics Procurement Director at Covestro, which incorporates quite a lot of the activities to and from the ports, by the way, also storage activities, and on a voluntary basis. I actually am working also on an industry level in one of the most leading petrochemical associations, which is EPCA, European Petrochemical Association, where I am since 2018 chairperson of the supply chain committee.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and also for being representing the European petrochemical industry with us today. Yes, Femke, the same question for you, of course. What is NPRC doing, and what is the role of NPRC also in the hinterland?
Yeah, now we are in cooperation, so we have 145 inland shipping companies aligned, and we working as an inland shipping company from 4 countries. We are in Germany and Belgium and France, and the headquarter is in Rotterdam. We transport among 13 million tons of cargo every year through Europe, Northwestern Europe, and actually we serve all the big European industries in the hinterland and also from the port. And yeah, the NPRC already since a couple of years has the strategy to become ultimate data driven, because transport, it's actually also a collection of data which you manage the whole day.
So it's a collection of storage, but also of data.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, great having you as well. And Ellen, great to have you here as well from the Port Authority. Yeah, you must be acquainted with our guests, aren't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. As a business manager, I help shippers and forwarders in improving their supply chain via Rotterdam. And my focus on containerized chemicals make that I know Dirk quite well and many other chemical companies. And you can only improve the supply chain in cooperation with the supply chain partners. So of course, NPRC is a well-known contact as well for us.
Yes, a well-known contact. And what about sectors like Covestro? Why do you think the Port of Rotterdam is their first choice?
Yes, well, we offer a complementary hub, I would say. On the one hand, there's a large concentration of chemical companies, of independent tank storage, tank container services, warehouses for hazardous cargo. And on the other hand, we have our in-depth network of overseas and short sea connections together with hinterland connections, both by rail, barge and road. That is necessary to serve the whole European market.
Yes,
And
because let's talk about the hinterland.
Yeah.
A very important route, of course, is the Rhine corridor.
Oh yes, yeah.
So what makes this such an interesting route?
Well, it's a key connection for all the ports in the Netherlands and Belgium along the North Sea to serve the core business of Europe, I would say. So the largest concentration of consumers and producers is along the Rhine corridor. So the industry needs the Rhine.
Yes.
And we do need it as well.
Yes, because Dirk, is that also true for your company? Do you rely on this River Rhine infrastructure?
Definitely. I must say, the ports, they like to store and handle products, and we like to move products. So that's a natural fit in itself. But Covestro, being one of the many chemical producers who are actually based along the River Rhine, but not only petrochemical industry, there's also other industries like steel, for example, which are basically pretty much depending on a well-functioning connection to and from the ports. And the River Rhine, I would like to define it as a little bit more. It's actually the lifeline of the European industry, I would say. And if you try to describe petrochemical industry in a very simple way, you can say, well, we basically import liquids, and a lot are going through the Port of Rotterdam, and we turn them into other liquids or plastics, which we then send again around the world. So yes, for inbound and for outbound.
Yes, so important. Yes, we're also going to talk about a future-proof supply chain. So in your industry, Dirk, what are the main drivers to maintain or to create a future-proof supply chain?
Well, it's a very good question, and a lot of the topics were already addressed in the nice movie that you just showed. I think it's fair enough to say that in our business, commoditization is an important element. So we need to be very well aware of our cost situation and also performance. Security of supply is crucial. It's our license to operate in a safe manner. And those were the things that we basically were talking a lot about in the past. I think in today's life, there are new drivers which are coming at the table, and pretty much in every conversation we have with our partners, these are being discussed today. I think one is sustainability. So we are all basically bound by this European Green Deal. So we all have to prove sustainability, CO2 neutrality and things like that, which was also discussed in the past, but it's more important and relevant today. The second driver is, of course, which is going to change our industry drastically in the coming 10 years or even longer, which is all about circular economy. And those are the big drivers that we are having. And when it comes to sustainability, and this is a nice project that we have today, is basically that we are looking also at those so-called level 3 emissions, where we monitor our suppliers and how they contribute to CO2 optimization.
Yes, and if you talk about these drivers, what do you expect then from your logistic service providers? How can they adapt or?
Yes, please. So as I was trying to explain, as chemical producers, of course, we have to monitor in those level 3 emissions what our service providers are doing. So their contribution is key. And it will also impact their and our business and also our joint partnership going forward. Let me just say that we observe that in today's world, when it comes to sustainability, there is definitely a momentum for hydrogen. So we see that hydrogen is very much on vogue. There are huge amounts of billions of euros that are being made available by governments, both in Holland and in Germany and in Brussels, which are pushing and actually also making cases possible, like we are trying to achieve together with NPRC, to actually put hydrogen on the map and basically to get it going.
Yeah, so let's also go back to the Rhine corridor, because Ellen, it's a very important infrastructure. So what can you do as a port authority to mitigate the accessibility to the Rhine corridor?
Yeah, we help to keep reliable access of this corridor by keeping the infrastructures high on the agenda, especially of the Dutch and German governments. Their forecasting model has been developed, in which 6 to 8 weeks in advance about the Rhine water level, and that has a lot of interest by shippers and operators. It's been developed by the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management together with Deltares, and we help, of course, logistic solutions like we support the initiatives of the market, like vessels with lower draft, alternative storage locations, and we look with market parties for alternatives.
Yes, because what are alternatives? Are there other solutions to reach the hinterland?
Yeah, then I talk about real solutions. So what we saw from Port of Rotterdam, that both the frequency and the number of destinations of rail connections to the Rhine corridor has increased, and also the share of rail has increased. So for example, when we had those low water levels in 2018, the share that was picked up by rail, that didn't shift back. So for us, this major transport mode is a sound alternative next to barge, of course, and it's a sustainable alternative, so that's very important.
Yeah, it's very important, because why is it such an important topic, sustainability? Dirk also mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dirk already said, sustainability, circular economy, it is a key issue among supply chain management nowadays, also stimulated by the Green Deal. And yeah, we see this is the right time to exchange sustainable challenges into sustainable opportunities, like the example that will be presented right now.
Yes, because opportunities, let's talk about opportunities, Femke, because you at NPRC, you are cooperating with different partners to seize actually those opportunities arising from the environmental challenges. So what can you tell us about the Rhine 2 initiative?
Yeah, I think it's a unique initiative because it's a big group of parties, public and private, 24 nowadays. They all strive for the same ambition to get a hydrogen corridor between the Netherlands and Germany. And I think to put this on the agenda, we have still to make big steps. but the strength is when you work there together, and also with two countries, because as we just heard, the Rhine, it's the Netherlands and Germany. We have to combine also the governments on this goal. And I think it's for the lobby to put it on the map on the national governments, but also in Europe at the European Commission, where inland waterway is not always the priority. And I think when you work together, you get more power also there, and we are there, I think, on the right level. But also to look how you change the whole ecosystem. But it's not the ship only that has to sail on hydrogen, but also the infrastructure has to be created, and also the legislation has to be there. And when you are working in a very innovative path, there has to be also trust at several parties that this will be a good plan.
Yes, it's a whole transition actually in the hinterland supply chain, and you're talking about big steps. It's a great project initiative. But what are the first steps? Can you tell us a little bit more about?
The first step is really to see if we get funding for the bunkering infrastructure, and for the ships, and for the capex, and also for the opex, because as there is no one sailing yet on hydrogen, the costs are a little bit high, and we have to fund that. And the rest, and the next thing is to get standardization on. We want to work from one system, and so it's also to lobby for that at the EU. And I think it's good we are now in the Port of Rotterdam, that the Port of Rotterdam also can lobby to have infrastructure here in Rotterdam, but also along the Rhine.
Yes, so I'm going to ask that question later on to Ellen, but maybe also about those hydrogen-powered barges. Can you tell us something about when do you expect, when will they operate?
Yeah, now we are really having a plan to have them in 2024 in operation, but we work really closely together. Yesterday we had a meeting also with Dirk to see what are the steps to be taken, but we aim for 2024.
Okay, you aim for 2024.
Yeah.
Yes, because Ellen, what are the ambitions of the port in terms of hydrogen power facilities?
Well, we want to become the hydrogen hub by 2050 for Northwestern Europe. And we foresee a large increase of hydrogen as a feedstock, as alternative to oil and coal. And we are already an energy port, so our assets fit very well to become a hydrogen hub. If you look at the plants, terminals, pipelines, and the import opportunities or facilities that we do offer already, because we think the largest part of hydrogen will be imported from cheaper countries. And of course, a large part will be transported to the hinterland, to the industries.
Yes, and Rotterdam is, of course, also the Port of Rotterdam is also one of the partners of the Rhine 2 initiative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there we act as a co-facilitator, so to say, to offer all the facilities that are needed that, you can have your vessel sail.
Yes. Yeah, because Femke, you also need, of course, to maintain the security of the supply chain at all times with this initiative as well. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think the basic also for our job is to secure the supply chain. And at MPSC, we have actually 4 working programs where we say, how do we create the next generation supply chain that is very data-driven? As I said, so first to see together with our clients which data we have, we put it together, and from there we want to work together with the client on certain KPIs to improve the supply chain, and to see also, because we're talking about, for example, low water, how can you have smart logistics to face that kind of issues. And in the end, the goal is to have an AI supply chain where you have more forecasting planning.
Yes. So Dirk, do you also agree? Are these the required steps to create a next generation supply chain?
Fully agree. I must say I'm totally excited about the slide that was just shown. because it does not happen all that often that you have all these value drivers like digitization, sustainability, reliability as in backup concepts, all combined in one slide. So, and as I always say, if most of the time, if people talk to each other, amazing things happen. So the Rhine 2 project is also a very nice story where politicians and governance across the country work together. That's nice, but the journey that Covestro has engaged with NPRC is a fantastic story. I would just like to make one comment on what Ellen just said. Not all the hydrogen will have to be imported from other countries because companies such as Covestro is sitting on hydrogen, just that you know that. And this is, of course, creating an amazing opportunity that we could transfer that into a fuel for actually using the barges and other activities, buses and the like. So Covestro wants definitely going to contribute on CO2 reduction.
Yeah, so is it also about working actually as one company then? So look very carefully around you, what all the parties have to offer?
It's the principle of customer centricity. Yeah? So if you are a service provider, and Covestro also acts and thinks and uses this in its DNA and everything that we do. But I can also see this in other industry areas that if you use customer centricity in what you think, and that you lose for a moment those boundaries, and then let's go beyond boundaries, we say at Covestro, or as Covestro and NPSC was actually working along the same lines. We always said, let's act for a moment if we are one company, and then together we can do so much more. And then you come to solutions that really create value.
Okay, great tip, I think. Act as one company.
Yeah, that's the whole strategy. Not we and they, but together, and see how we can make it things better. And also when there things are going wrong, not saying you are doing things wrong, but then see how can we find a solution together. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. And we have a long-term partnership where we really have an ambitious goal to improve also, actually these 4 working programs. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much for so far. Koen, are there also any questions from our viewers?
Yes, we do. We have some really interesting questions. I've got one here for Femke, I believe. You just referred to the fact that NPRC and Covestro are working together as one company in the development of hydrogen vessels. Yeah. But how does this look in practice?
When it starts with transparency and trust. And as I just said, we are looking from an open book together how we can make this possible. So to share actually from the beginning the data and the costs, and to see how we can solve. And also in the lobbying, we go together. We have a team together. So we really try to cooperate as close as possible. And that takes time. So also in my agenda, I have Covestro time where we sit together and share our issues and the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, creating a good relation is always about time, of course, making time for each other. Dirk, can you also give an example in daily life how you act like one company?
Yeah, basically you just put yourselves together into one room and you say, this is what I need and these are my service requirements. Can you do something with that? Can you fulfill these requirements? And what has to be done to achieve those requirements? Also within EPCA, we try to do the same. We run a community of around 700 members. We basically ask our customers, our internal stakeholders, what do you need? And if you then listen to those needs and you prioritize them and you fulfill those needs, then everybody is happy. So that's basically what it boils down to. It's not about, I want to do this, do you like it? It's just the other way around. What do you need and how can I fulfill your needs?
Well, wonderful, Dirk and Femke and Ellen. Thank you very much for your insights and your sharing your ideas with us. And of course, we will keep a close eye on the movements of the Rhine 2 initiative. It's now time, Koen, for the latest updates from in and around the port. So let's go to our newsflash.
Thank you very much, Anushka. An international alliance of 45 companies headed by the Port of Rotterdam Authority has been awarded nearly 25 million in European funding. The consortium with the name Magpie will be using this grant to execute 10 projects that focus on sustainable and smart logistics in port operations. One of the consortium partners, Wärtsilä, has recently announced the first concrete sub-project, the design of an autonomous and emission-free container ship which will serve as a shuttle between the terminals in the Port of Rotterdam. On May 11, the world's first barge-to-ship methanol bunkering operation took place in the Port of Rotterdam at Vopak Terminal Botlek. Waterfront shipping demonstrated the ease of barge-to-ship bunkering. The bunkering demonstration provides a future evidence of methanol as a low-emission, safe and simple to handle clean fuel that offers a future-proof pathway to a low-carbon future. Methanol produces up to 15% lower carbon emissions during combustion than traditional fuel oil. On the 21st of June, the final pilot will start of the testing of the integral planning tool NextLogic. NextLogic focuses on improving the handling of inland container shipping in the Port of Rotterdam. More than 25 companies will participate in this 2-week pilot, including the deep-sea terminals, empty depots and barge operators. Together, the participating barge operators represent about 75% of the container barge volume, and the participating terminals have indicated that they will handle about 80% of their calls with the integrated planning. NextLogic is expected to go live after the summer holiday period. In the post-Brexit era, European exporters are facing delays, additional manual actions and uncertainties. For perishable cargo, short and efficient lead times are a must. A decrease in value of 10 to 15% per day is currently at risk. Naviporta aims to solve this challenge and is conducting a pilot whereby a secure infrastructure for sharing trusted information is provided. Together with partners Azarc, ABC Logistics, Portbase and Groente en Fruithuis, the Key Connect solutions connect individual business systems with the required institutes into one automated workflow. The results of this pilot are expected this summer, after the Key Connect solution from Naviporta will be made available for other import and export companies. More info on these solutions can be found on naviporta.com. Fasten your seatbelts. Breakbulk Europe is moving to Rotterdam. In 2022, the Breakbulk Europe conference will be held in Rotterdam. Breakbulk Europe is the largest event for the project cargo and breakbulk industry and is set to draw thousands of people to Rotterdam. It confirms Rotterdam's status as Europe's maritime capital and fits the ambition to become Europe's leading breakbulk port. In 2020, Rotterdam handled over 6 million tons of breakbulk. The port is well known for its specialization in heavy lift and breakbulk sector and can handle any vessel, any size, of any type. Back to you, Anushka.
Yes, thank you so much, Koen, for the latest news, all the updates. Yes, joining me now to discuss inland shipping as sustainable and a reliable modality, Luc Smits, Managing Director at CCT. Welcome. And rejoining us, Ellen Nijkens, the Senior Business Manager, Shippers and Forwarders at the Port of Rotterdam Authority. Luc, let me start with you. Welcome again. So what can you tell us about your company and its role in the distribution to the hinterland?
Thanks for the invitation in the first place. We operate 2 terminals, one in Alphen aan den Rijn, dedicated to handle mainly the containers for the Heineken brewery in Zoeterwoude, around 100,000 boxes a year in and out. And then we have the 3 model terminal in Moerdijk, where we operate around 600,000 boxes, mainly on the short sea, but also in the hinterland connection, as we call it, for the barges.
Yes, great. Well, in a very important role in inland shipping, your company. And Ellen, welcome back. So optimization is a very important matter. So why is it also for the Port of Rotterdam so important?
Well, it's in the end, it's all about smooth flows via the Port of Rotterdam. And if you look at the increasing volumes of containers passing via Rotterdam, being transported on ever bigger deep sea vessels, then you can imagine that sound hinterland connections is key. Also, if you look at the fact that over the last 8 years, 100 large-scale warehouses have been built in the direct neighborhood of Rotterdam, and to serve those markets, we need reliable hinterland connections. Of course.
Yes, so it's actually one of the conditions to grow as a port.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So it's both road, rail connections, and mostly barge connections to areas like North Brabant or Limburg, where a lot of these distribution centers are located.
Yes, so that's also something we wanted to learn more about. So we went our colleague Winnie Wener to visit Flex, a leading global sketch-to-scale provider of real-time supply chain visibility and analytics to businesses. So let's see what Winnie discovered.
Vandaag zijn we in Oostrum, in de prachtige provincie van Limburg, Zuidwest-Nederland. Een belangrijke hub voor de haven van Rotterdam. We zijn hier bij het Europees Distributiecentrum van Flex. Hey Peter, wat leuk om je te zien. Kijk eens.
Hallo Winnie.
Een kopje koffie, zoals beloofd.
Heerlijk, dankjewel. Laten we beginnen met de asperges uit Limburg. Je bent hier nu op bezoek, het is het seizoen.
Heerlijk.
Kom, we gaan gauw aan de gang. Loop je mee naar binnen?
Wow, Peter, what an amazing warehouse. What kind of activities are carried out here?
Well, let me explain a little bit about what we do as an organization. So Flex is a global technology company. Our services are sketch-to-scale services. So we work from product design, develop, manufacture, and distribute to the end customers globally. Here in Venray, we operate warehousing functions and supply chain management for some international leading companies in personal computer systems or communication network server equipment. That means order fulfillment, but also value-added services like product configuration, build-to-order, kitting. Furthermore, we arranged the final distribution into Europe for all of these products.
Whoa, Peter, what an amazing view. You chose to set up your location here in the province of Limburg. What are the advantages?
Well, let me tell that this location in the northern part of Limburg is a hotspot, a logistics hotspot. Many international companies are here because the market, the consumer market, is very close. So we are close to the region of Germany, northern France, but also Scandinavia and Italy. And we can, within a 1 or 2 day time frame, deliver the products into that European market. The majority of products will come per container with ocean freight, but also rail services from the US, from the Far East. Within a 1 day transit time, we can receive them. We have an inland terminal infrastructure close by. On an annual basis, we have around 35,000 TEUs that we handle on these different locations.
To what extent is sustainability important for you and your customers, and what kind of role does it play?
Just recently, we launched also our objectives of sustainability, which is CO2 emission by 50% from the baseline in 2019 till 2030. At the inland terminals that we use, we have the barges which are electrical all the way from Rotterdam into the Wansum terminal. And there is the electric trucks where we can perform the shunting in a complete emission-free way to this facility.
Peter, thanks so much for the extensive tour. Just one last thing. How do you see the future for this company?
Well, we continue to develop, and as long as the infrastructure is reliable and flexible, we have all the tools in our hand, and we will look forward to the sustainability activities that we can perform, the flexibility in the labor staff. So the key words are really flexibility, reliability, the quality of workers to develop our business with the customers.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, Winnie, then let's go to the inland terminal where we can have a look at the containers.
All right, let's go.
Yes, Winnie, thank you very much. Great visit. Yes, look, one of the drivers of growth of the Port of Rotterdam is, of course, the container handling, but it also puts a lot of pressure on the existing systems and the existing facilities. Do you also experience that at the hinterland?
Yeah, of course, everybody knew already for many years that the vessels would grow bigger. One of the things we started in 2017 to discuss a cooperation between two competitors in the region, Tilburg and Moerdijk. And we started that to cope with the bigger demand on peak moments on the deep sea terminals. We have to say that after 3 years, we're very happy with that. Oosterhout joined half a year later. And due to that point direction and combining the containers and make a hub in Moerdijk, we can cope with the peak moments and have a reliable service to the hinterland.
Yes, and so, but how can you cope then with the peak? Is it because of the cooperation?
Yeah, due to the cooperation, we bring three volumes of 3 different terminals as one volume. And that means that we have over its average call size of 250 moves at the deep sea terminal, making us an interesting point for a fixed window connection.
Yeah, and is the chain also transparent enough to cooperate?
Between the terminals and our clients, yes. We'd like to have a more transparent thing, and good for this. The Port of Rotterdam is also taking initiatives to support that.
Yes. So let's also talk about the West Brabant corridor. Ellen, what makes this initiative so valuable also for the Port of Rotterdam?
Yeah, well, in the end, it's all about joining forces with regard to capacity and continuously focusing on improvement, the utilization of this capacity that is available by the 3 partners. And in the end, to make a perfect match with the demand. So the cargo flows via this corridor. And yeah, that resulted in a lot of win-win situations. Well, there's this video about it.
Yes, because we have a video
exactly.
about the West Brabant corridor.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we take a look. Yes, so Ellen, it does benefit all parties in the chain, does it?
Yeah, it's wonderful if you see these results only after 3 years of cooperation already. And you can imagine that if you have so much less deviations, less vessels to be used. I even heard nowadays it's less than 60%, and reduce waiting times and lead times. That helps all parties in the chain, of course. So that's, yeah. Impressive.
Yeah, wonderful. Great initiative as well. Yes, so we are talking about the efficiency and the reliability, but of course it's all about sustainability as well as a very important and main drivers. So what initiative are taken to improve there, Ellen?
Well, on this corridor, for example, what impresses me a lot, it's initiative SES, Zero Emission Services. It's a company that leases interchangeable battery containers to well, the parties that operate in the inland shipping sector. But well, you know much more about it. So
yes, so Luc, tell us more about SES.
Yeah, SES. Well, it's the initiative taken by 4 different parties, but later on you will see show the video about it. We are one of the first clients of SES. We signed a 10-year contract, also thanks to the support of Heineken. This way, I think end of this week or next week, the barge will go to be modified that we can put the electrical barges 100% operational.
Yes, because it's about electrical barges.
Yeah.
Shall we first take a look at the video?
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
The climate goals cannot be achieved without the contribution of the inland shipping sector. ZES has taken the lead in the transition in inland shipping with 100% green energy and no CO2, nitrogen or particulates emissions. ZES is short for Zero Emission Services. ZES provides rechargeable energy containers for new and existing inland vessels. These containers are loaded with green energy. Once the energy has been depleted, the captain can easily switch the empty container for a full one at one of the switching and open access charging stations. The stations can also be used to stabilize the electricity network or provide electricity temporarily at a facility. ZES has a simple payment system. You only pay for the electricity consumed and the use of a ZES pack. ZES offers users a future-proof solution. For example, the ZES packs can also be used for hydrogen in the future. ZES is the result of a partnership between ENGIE, ING, the Port of Rotterdam and Wärtsilä. These organizations founded ZES with the support of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. Right from the start, ZES has partnered up with Heineken and its transport company CCT. Heineken, which exports around 70,000 containers of beer each year, will join with ZES for 10 years to have its export beer transported emission-free from its breweries to the Port of Moerdijk and eventually the Port of Rotterdam. In the years to come, ZES will grow with more switching and charging stations, more shipping routes and more vessels. The ultimate goal is to achieve 100% green and emission-free inland and short sea shipping.
Yeah, Luc, a clever solution, you could say, and also with hardly any downtime for recharging. Is it completely sustainable?
Yes, if we have the wind energy then it's completely sustainable. I think if you look at the logistic force behind it, it's also sustainable. At the moment, we will start sailing between Alferium in Alphen aan den Rijn and Moerdijk, and then we go between the two own operated terminals. Yeah, the range of the barge is between 50 and 100 kilometers, depending a little bit on how much weight there is in the barges and also of the current and time at the bridges to open.
Because that's of course an important question from a transporter's point of view, of course, the range.
Yeah.
Yes, and it is like, what do you say, 50?
50 to 100 kilometers at the moment. The batteries are improving all the time, so yeah, we expect that it in the future can be much longer.
Yes, and you are a transit partner of Heineken, we already saw in the video. So are you already sailing electrically?
No, to the shipyard, the vessel, the barge will go, the Alphen will go there next week, and then we hope to operate it 100% electrical the 1st of September.
Okay, so from September and on, we can drink our Heineken beer CO2 neutral.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm looking forward for that solution, of course. Yes, and Ellen, the Port of Rotterdam is also one of the partners in this initiative.
Yes, yeah.
How do you look at these developments?
Yeah, this is really a matter of great team effort, so to say. So all the parties work together to reduce the threshold for skippers, ship owners, and forwarders to participate in this initiative to make this sustainable shift really possible. So great development.
Yes, and how do the barge owners, how do they look at this new innovation?
They look from two different sides. Of course, first, the cost per running hour is mostly important. If we look at the agreement we made with ZES, yeah, it looks very prospective that we will have a lower cost in the future. But yeah, the zero emission service is, of course, very important for our customers nowadays.
Yes, nowadays, absolutely. So let's also go to our second part of the coffee vlog, since Winnie also visited the terminal of BCTN, who handled a large part of the incoming flex containers. So let's see what BCTN CEO Joop Meiland has to say about their sustainable initiatives.
Goedemiddag. Welkom op de BCTN-terminal in Wansum.
Dankjewel.
Zullen we eens rond gaan lopen?
Goed. Voor de kijkers, dit is een van de 8 BCTN-terminals in Nederland en België. Hoeveel containers gaan hier nou eigenlijk doorheen?
Elke week doen we hier wel zo'n 1000 containers. Dus daarmee halen we ook 1000 containers van de weg. En dat is precies de opzet van BCTN. Het vervoeren van containers van de haven Rotterdam naar het achterland.
En zitten jullie al aan de volledige capaciteit?
Nou, absoluut niet. We zijn nog steeds bezig met een stuk uitbreiding, zoals je kunt zien. Deze terminal is nu groot 4 hectare. We gaan er nog een stukje aanplakken, dus dan zitten we bijna op 5,5 hectare. En daarmee denken we dat we ruimschoots capaciteit hebben om deze regio te kunnen voorzien.
En ik begrijp dat de inland terminals ook een steeds belangrijkere rol innemen in de supply chain. Kan je uitleggen in hoeverre jullie bijdragen aan het optimaliseren van de containerketen?
Nou, de grote schepen lossen de containers in de haven van Rotterdam. Wij zorgen dat we daar op tijd met onze binnenvaartschepen zijn. Op die wijze vervoeren wij die containers op een betrouwbare manier naar het achterland, zoals naar deze terminal in Wansum. Die stellen we dan ter beschikking van onze klanten, die dan één voor één deze containers afroepen. Dus eigenlijk verplaatsen we de buffer van Rotterdam naar het achterland.
En heel veel partijen in de logistieke keten ervaren binnenvaart ook als een betrouwbare optie. Maar het is ook een duurzame optie.
Nou, duurzaamheid is natuurlijk een wezenlijk onderdeel van hoe wij de containers transporteren. En dat begint met de schepen die we inzetten. Eén daarvan is de Nijmegen Max, al compleet voorbereid om straks op batterijtechniek te gaan varen. Het terminalmateriaal wat we inzetten, als we dat gaan we ook vervangen naar de elektrische variant. Zoals je zojuist hebt gezien, rijden we hier ook met elektrische vrachtwagens. Dus het laatste stukje naar de klant toe vindt ook plaats middels elektrische vrachtwagens. Kortom, we proberen maximaal in te zetten op de verduurzaming van die transportketen.
Ja, en over verduurzaming gesproken, in hoeverre kan de Maascorridor daartoe dienen?
Nou, ik denk dat het van belang is om te kijken naar heel de corridor. En BCTN heeft 3 terminals langs deze corridor. Hier in Wansum, in Roermond en in Nijmegen. Op die wijze bundelen we die containers voor het achterland en zorgen we dat via de BART-verbinding, de binnenvaartverbinding, met ook dat laatste stukje transport, dat zo duurzaam mogelijk uit te voeren.
Nou, hartstikke bedankt Joop. Ik vond het echt heel leuk om te leren kennen, dat ik de terminal heb mogen zien. Ja, dit was ons avontuur in Limburg. Terug naar de studio, Anoushka.
Yes, Winnie, nice adventure. Thank you very much. Yes, Ellen, we have discussed, of course, now efficiency, sustainability, but I think that the main goal is, of course, to ensure reliability under any conditions.
Yeah, for my target groups, the shippers and the forwarders, reliability is key indeed. If you have deviation in transport, that can have such an impact on your warehouse planning, for example. And yeah, in the end, it results in higher cost and longer lead time. So that's
yeah. So what is the port doing to improve the reliability in the chain?
Well, if you look at our position, we are a rather neutral party in this container supply chain, and we know all the parties that are involved with the inland container flow. For example, the inland terminals, the deep sea terminals, intermodal operators, etc. So what we do, we invite all those parties at the table together with the shippers and forwarders, and see how we can jointly improve the supply chain.
Yes, and what kind of tools do you develop?
One of the tools, for example, SCOPE. SCOPE stands for Supply Chain Optimization and Performance Engine. What we do, we collect data from all these partners. We combine and analyze the data and represent the performance of an inland flow to all these parties so they can jointly decide what issues to improve.
Okay, that's I think it's a wonderful tool, a good tool.
Yeah.
How do you look at these initiatives, Luc?
Yeah, they're very important because the logistic chain can only be optimized if we work together, and data is of course very crucial in this situation.
Yes.
All containers coming in for the deep sea terminal, it's very important that they know the next mode of transport, the date of transport, so that the stacking of the containers can be easy.
Yeah, so it's not only about collecting storage, but also collecting data.
Collecting data is to make the flow more efficient. It's absolutely critical.
Okay. So cool. Let's also move to some viewers' questions. Do you have something for us?
Yes, I have a very clear question for Ellen. Are there any costs involved if you look to a scope project?
Oh yeah, the SCOPE initiative. Now what we do, we of course focus on very large container flows via the Port of Rotterdam, but then we offer this analysis for free. So we provide the shipper and all the other supply chain parties insight in reliability, lead time, model shift, etc. So I kindly invite any big shipper to call me.
Yeah, so it's part of the deal actually, the service that the port is offering.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Another question?
Good. Yeah, another question for Luc. Since the batteries from the ZES initiative have a limited range, where are the stations to recharge these batteries? Where can we find them?
Well, at the moment we have one power station and battery reloading station at the port of Alphen aan den Rijn, at the Alferium, and we are looking to expand together with ZES the areas where we can load the batteries.
Okay, so there's more to come, but at the moment there is one station.
There's one operational already.
Yes.
And the second one hopefully to come very soon in Moerdijk. And we just saw Joop Meiland, and he's hoping to get the third one in Nijmegen or in Den Bosch.
Okay, well, Koen, thank you very much for your questions. Thank you, Ellen and Luc. Thank you very much for joining me here in the show, and thank you for watching the third edition of Supply Chain Talks, brought to you here live from the Port of Rotterdam. And for more information about our topics today, please visit our website, portofrotterdam.com, or contact your business manager at the Port of Rotterdam Authority. And as we only have 55 minutes for the live show, and there is so much more to talk about, we also launched the podcast. So make sure that you listen to our third podcast as well. I talked to René de Vries, Harbour Master of the Port of Rotterdam, to find out more about his daily routines, his career, and of course the current exciting developments in the port area. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you next time. And in the meantime, stay cool, stay safe, and stay healthy. Bye-bye.